Good morning, everybody, and welcome aboard. It's my pleasure this morning to introduce our speaker today, Greg Roworth. Greg has been called Australia's #1 business growth strategist for owners of professional service firms. He's also the owner of Run Your Business on Autopilot, how to leverage your business for maximum profit in minimum time, and Cracking the Code, how to break free from being stuck in the center of your business to growing your business at the strategic level. Greg specialises in assisting smart but frustrated professional services business owners to discover their unique market positioning and to quickly leverage their business by attracting more ideal clients and building the systems and teams to run their business on autopilot. Since working as a CPA and a chartered accountant, including time at one of the big 4 accountancy firms, Greg has started, grown and sold 5 businesses of his own, including 3 consultancy practices in Adelaide, New Zealand and Melbourne, the last of which he sold 4 years ago. Since then, he has been focused specifically on supporting owners of small to medium-sized professional services firms, having clients in Australia, North America, Europe and New Zealand. Greg's academic qualifications include a Bachelor of Business and an MBA, but Greg says his greatest learnings about business come from getting down and dirty from working in the trenches in his first business in the irrigation industry, plus the lessons he learned from overcoming the challenges in growing each of his professional services businesses. Right now, it's time for me to stop and hand over to Greg and learn about cracking the code to disruptive business growth. They're all yours, Greg.
Okay, thanks, Sarah, and good to see you all this morning. Hopefully we'll get those other stragglers who, with the technical issues, coming back on, but we can't wait for them. We want to respect your time, so thanks for showing up today. As I indicated in the promotion for the event, it is going to be an interactive event, so I welcome your input. Feel free to ask any questions at any time, and I'll be asking you some questions and looking for some feedback about your situation as well as we go through. So with having said that, maybe just have a quick introduction from everyone around the room. Just who you are, where you're from, what you do, and just so we got a bit of a feeling for a bit of context when we talk to each other. So we'll go around. Sue, you are first one on, so let us know about who you are.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning, everybody. I'm Sue Glendenning, and I'm based here in Melbourne, Victoria. My business is Quantum Results Coaching, and I'm mindset coach, and I work in leadership coaching as well, primarily with women in business who want to really get their life back and their passion and their purpose for their business again.
Thanks, Sue. And over to you, Margaret.
Hi, good morning, everybody. I am based in Melbourne also. I run a networking group called VIP Business Network. I provide more so a networking concierge service to those that are members in my group. We have a hybrid model of events and Zoom. We are Australia-wide, and that's basically me in a nutshell. Networking galore. Love it. And
Great.
people.
Thanks, Margaret. And I know you run some very good events that are well worth turning up to. So
thank you.
Thanks for being here today. And Adam, tell us about yourself.
Thanks, Greg. So during the day, I work with Yokogawa as a sales leader, and I bootleg my time here at Yokogawa with coaching, mentoring, delivering programs, doing strengths coaching across the business. So I kind of transcend a little bit of L&D here, which is what I was kind of doing before I was full-time in practice. Mm-hmm. COVID kind of convinced me that was a bit tricky, being more of a face-to-face person. Mm-hmm. So I still coach and mentor after hours. So sort of mentor mainly startups of a weekday evening, and then on the weekends, mainly Sunday mornings, I'm doing sort of career coaching, that sort of thing, with engineers and emerging leaders.
Oh, great. Yeah, excellent. Well, thanks for that.
No problems.
Good. Well, today we're talking about cracking the code to disruptive business growth. So that's all about learning how to attract more premium level clients consistently and predictably, and build a team around you, ideally so that you I ultimately have a business that you could sell. Not that you have to sell it, but being able to work in your business because you want to, not because you have to, is really the outcome of this process. So what we want to look at as we go through the presentation today, I'm going to ask you to be thinking differently about how your business runs and about how the way you do things. Because one thing that I've learned across my journey is that we go into business with a background and our experience, but we've probably never ever been taught to run a business effectively, and we seem to stumble into that and learn as we go. So I think having made more mistakes than anyone else on this presentation today, I hope that I can pass on the wisdom of my experience and the mistakes I've learned from. And that's the important thing, learning from our mistakes and helping you, helping communicate to you, the different ways I've had to learn to think about running a business than what came naturally to me. And I think the main thing, and as Sarah pointed out, there was a turning point for me where everything changed. And, I wasn't always a successful business person. I struggled and made lots of mistakes. But the biggest turning point for me came about 25 years ago when I was running my consultancy practice. I had 3 other consultants on the team and some support people. But the turning point happened after we'd had a record month sales. So on the surface, things were going really well. But I went with my wife to a doctor's appointment. And at that doctor's appointment, the outcome was that my wife had been diagnosed with cancer. And, that's a pretty scary thing to happen when you don't know a lot about cancer and you hear the word cancer and you think, oh no, what's that really mean? And so, what it meant was surgery and 6 weeks of treatment that we had to deal with. So, I went back to my team and told them about the situation and said, well, basically I need to take 6 weeks off to look after my wife. And, that was another scary thought because what was going to happen to my business with 6 weeks. And, I'm very grateful to them. Universally, they said, don't worry about it. We've got your back. We'll look after the business while you're away. And that gave me some comfort to, go away and deal with, the challenges of, supporting my wife. And thankfully, everything worked out from the health perspective, and my wife's still around and we're enjoying our lives together today. But the business maybe wasn't so well off because what happened after 6 weeks when I got back is that we had no new clients. The work that we'd done with our existing clients had progressed, but we hadn't gained any extra work with those clients. And our cash flow was, in pretty diabolical state as a result. And we had no funnel being developed, to look forward to where the next clients were coming from. So what I realized in that process was that the business was totally dependent on me. It was, if I wasn't there to actually run the business, it was not going to be very long before it just ran itself into the ground. My people weren't capable, they were capable of doing the work with clients, but they weren't capable of doing the extra things needed to run a successful business. So what I discovered, and the turning point was that I really had to look at how I was running my business, because I knew at that time that I couldn't continue to run it the same way forever. If I wasn't going to make some changes, then the business was always going to be dependent on me. I would never be able to take time off, and there were changes that need to be made so that I had a business that worked for me rather than me being the one that made it work. So let me share my screen. And this technical side. Okay, Sarah, you need to allow me to share my screen. Hopefully you're there, Sarah.
I'm here.
Okay, you need to enable screen sharing for me.
I do, and it doesn't seem to want. There we go.
Okay, here we go.
Have you got it?
Yep, thank you. All right, there we go. Hopefully you can all see that diagram there of the guy sitting in the middle of the business with the ball and chain. That's
Yep, you're good, Greg.
good. And that's how I felt at that time. The business was totally dependent on me, and it had trapped me in the center of the business. And what I've come to realize is that this is how most businesses are run. Most businesses are run by someone who gets. Good morning, Jeremy. Good to see you here.
My apologies for being late.
That's all right. So obviously some technical issues. So thanks for coming. So I've just explained some, how I got to be, a business where I was stuck in the center of the business and the business was totally dependent on me. And, my experience is that, almost, 95% of businesses are probably like this, where, the owners are making the business work, and our business doesn't actually work without them. And what I've also seen that explains this and why this is so is a diagram that comes from Robert Kiyosaki's book Cash Flow Quadrant, where he explains how most of us, when we leave school, we get a job, we're in employment, and some of us have a feeling of wanting to do things our own way. So we start our own business and we become self-employed. But what he says is that this left-hand side of the diagram is the poor side. And on this poor side, we tend to think about, working hard for our money in a job. And when we move to self-employment, we continue with that mindset of, working hard in our business to make the money to support our lifestyle. But he says on the right-hand side of the equation, he calls the rich side, he talks about an investor has a different mindset, and an investor has a mindset of money working for you. So money making more money. And when an investor invests in a business, they see the business in a totally different way, because they don't see their role as being a worker in the business, but they see the business as a system that works for you. So what's important, I think, for us as business owners who might be, in that self-employed quadrant, to change our mindset towards being a business owner where we see our business as the system that works for us. So instead of us working hard for our business, we get a business that works for us. Now, what I also have come to see and understand is there's a specific typical growth path or a flight path to how professional service firms grow. And these firms grow from where the initial stages where we basically start our business in the occupation that we've learned our skills and expertise in. But when we start that business, there's typically a struggle to earn our income because we need clients. So there's a struggle to find clients, and we that situation doesn't change unless we work on our strategy around client acquisition. So to get to the next level where we're at a level of consistent survival, we need to have a strategy around client acquisition and getting clients consistently. At that point, once we have a business that's starting to grow, we become a business operator. And we have a business where maybe we have a couple of employees or maybe more. And we are operating at more of a survival level where the business is operating a bit more consistently than it did when we were struggling for where the next client's coming from. But at this point, we really need to apply our attention to building a structure in the business that can support the business and can support its continued growth. The next level then is becoming the business orchestrator. So, at the business operator level, the business is still run by the owner, and the owner has a small team of people that they need to support. But typically, that team is very reliant on the owner for day-to-day operations and day-to-day instructions of what needs to happen. So that mindset flip that we're talking about needs to happen at this point, because unless we change our mindset and start to operate more proactively and strategically instead of reactively and tactically, we'll never actually get to the point of being a business orchestrator. We need to make a decision to build our business intentionally if it's ever going to happen. What tends to happen is that our business can grow because we do a good job and we get referrals, and there's a level of demand that gives us an ability to build a team around us. But if that's our mindset, and if we do that reactively, like a lot of businesses do, then we're always going to be stuck in that business operator role, because we tend to manage our business to survive. And it tends to keep the business constrained and contained at a level, our plateau, revenue plateau that we never go past. So it really takes that mindset flip at this stage to think about actually growing a business that works for us instead of us being the one that makes it work. So changing our mindset to being the business orchestrator, where we build the systems and processes into our business so our business is scalable. And ultimately, once we get that right, our business is in a position of market supremacy, where we become the overseer of that business and maybe a number of different businesses, because that business becomes saleable. And it's in a position where we can realize the value of the business in a number of different ways. So ultimately, we're talking about that change from being the business operator to being the business orchestrator. And where I see that important mindset flip happening is changing in a number of different ways. But what we see is, an operator tends to be reactive, tactical, and indecisive. And they spend most of their time working in the business producing the revenue, and tend to be responsible for most client acquisition tasks, because there's no real marketing system in place. They get clients through random acts of marketing, sometimes through referrals, sometimes going to more networking meetings than they might want to be going to generate referrals through that source. They tend to have a wide range of client types. There's only a few high-level premium clients. And that tends to happen too, because there's no real targeting and no real marketing effort. There's also a lack of differentiation. They often face competitive quoting, and there's a low confidence of winning sales consistently and predictably. And at this level too, there are often challenges with team efficiency, productivity, or ability to grow without negatively impacting the cost or the quality of operations. Now, on the orchestrator side, most of those challenges have been overcome, and because the orchestrator operates with a proactive mindset, they're strategic and they're decisive. They spend most of the time working on the business at the strategic level. They have a systemized approach to client acquisition, which is built on authority positioning. Most new opportunities come from strategically developed lead generation and lead nurturing processes, including referral generation systems. And clients come from a narrow strategic targeting to ensure most are premium clients. These businesses are highly differentiated with a unique value proposition, and because of that, there's a high confidence of winning sales at premium prices consistently and predictably. They also have high performance teams with functional scalability. They're able to grow without impacting cost or quality. So at this point, what I'd like to know and get a bit of feedback from you is in terms of where you see yourself. Are you at the operator level or the orchestrator level? And what have you learned so far from what we've talked about? Let's perhaps stop screen share at the moment, or let's let you have your say. So yeah, who would like to go first?
How about muddled operator? Would that work?
Yes, that's certainly where a lot of people are, Jeremy. So you missed the start of the presentation, obviously, but what have you learned so far from what we've talked about?
Well, from my perspective, I've got the book and I've read some of it, but my role is actually to do the transition from operator and all the stuff you just mentioned into scalable. So we have a business plan, we have a strategy, we have an investor plan, and the problem that we're facing is the transition.
Right.
There are only so many hours in the day. We need to create products that are online, and we need to create an expert network. All of this takes time.
Yeah.
So that, and I think from our point of view, it was interesting you mentioned the investor. I think we need to dump a chunk of money in there and just get over this and get on with it. That's where we're at the moment.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Thanks for that, Jeremy.
I think, Greg, it's really easy to try to be everything to everyone, or to try and leverage the full gamut of your skills and experience. Certainly, I fall foul of that, and end up too broad in my positioning. Yeah.
No, thanks.
I think that's a great point, Adam. I think many of us do fall into that space, and it's a little bit of fear-based thinking and letting go, being afraid to let go and hand certain areas of our business over to somebody else. And Jeremy, can I say, recommend read the book. It's really good. So if you get a chance to finish it, I think things will start to fall into place, because you start to identify then who you are and where you sit. But sometimes it's the how do I change. Even when once you identify you need to change, it's the how to. And I think this is where the cracking the code makes the difference. It really helps.
Right. Thanks, Sue. Appreciate that. And Margaret.
I think I'm with Jeremy there on, I think well, if you'd caught me a couple of years ago, I think I'd be going and sitting lovely in the B-type business role. And I'm now sort of in between the S and the B. Yeah. So clearly we can't be all things to everybody, and we've got to outsource what people do particularly well and just stick with what you can do very well in a business. I think obviously the last couple of years has been a big disruptor to all of that. So a lot of people have sort of gone backwards a little bit to push themselves forward again. And I'm going through a big rebranding and marketing restructure. So I think that will enable me to progress a little faster than what I am. But yes, no, I identify. And I've read the book twice.
Yeah. Thank you. Oh, great. I appreciate your input on that. And
well, if Margaret's read it twice, does that mean I don't have to read it, Greg?
You don't, Jeremy. I'll just do a Kindle version for you. You can listen to my voice. It'll put you to sleep probably. So that could be, you could get more value out of it than just the business.
Right. I'll share my screen again. Okay. So yeah, thanks for that input. And I think we're all on the same page by the sound of it. And ultimately, where we want to get to is having a business that works so that you don't have to, or at least, aren't shackled to that place in the middle of the business where everything depends on you. And work towards having a business that works effectively without so much of your day-to-day input. And what I found in that flight path to saleability and or that place of independence in your business is that there are three critical strategies that we need to develop. And the first of those is having a strategic client acquisition process. The second is having a superior business model so that we're clearly differentiated from our competitors. And the final ingredient is having a high performance team. So when we look at the first strategy around client acquisition, what we tend to find, the business operators are in a reactive mode. They've not created the systems and processes to do this. So, they're typically on the lookout for clients, or they're hunting for clients every day. So, like this guy here, who's a butterfly hunter, he's out searching for the fields where the clients are, or where the butterflies are in his case, but they go about it, very randomly when they need a client. Perhaps, they're busy completing projects 1 month, and then they, run out of work to do and they look for the next client. So like this guy, he's out there, looking for the fields where the butterflies are, running around with the net to try to find those, new clients reactively. But if we're proactive and strategic about client acquisition, we need to understand that we shouldn't be hunting for clients. We should be attracting clients. And attracting clients should be child's play. So like this photo demonstrates, if we spend our time building a garden, and if we're wanting to attract butterflies, obviously we prepare the soil, we plant the plants, we fertilize them, we water them, we nurture them, and when they grow up in spring, the butterflies come and we can just go out and hand pick them. So we can attract our ideal clients in swarms. So a business operator is tactical, reactive, and often indecisive because they haven't really decided to grow a business that works for them. They're just focused on how do we get the next client, how do we make the money to survive. So they've never really put in the time and effort to think, or actually to first of all decide, we're going to grow a business effectively. That means we need strategies for attracting clients effectively and building that system to attract those clients. Now, from my experience, the most profitable way consultancy firms attract premium clients consistently and predictably is with what I call a strategic authority marketing system. And that's all about positioning yourself and the firm as the authority in your market so that in the client's perspective, they see you as the only viable choice and the most desirable firm to work with to solve their particular problems. So it's not about chasing clients and trying to find them randomly. It's about having a system that attracts them and attracts the specific high-level premium clients that you want to work with consistently and predictably. So any comments before we move on to the next one about client acquisition? Is that an area that you've got nailed and is systematic and effective, or is it you're still like perhaps the butterfly hunter who's a bit reactive and looking for the next client when the money's starting to run short or you're running out of work to do?
I'd be happy to lead off with that.
Thanks, Jamie.
Sure. We've been operating for 20 years. We've got a large database, and we teach this. We teach at university, etc., etc., etc. But when you look at our database, you'll find that out of that, the decision makers who might come to us probably are less than 5% of it.
Yeah.
And then there's, maybe there's another 20% that are decision influencers. And the rest of them, include a bunch of people, for example, civil servants who just want to come for a day out and have 3 days listening to us and go to sleep. So, we've got a few moths in our database that might be the way to go.
Yeah.
And I think also the what I like about this is the pull rather than the push.
That's right.
So for us, we've recently teamed up with an existing channel. The guys who invented what we do all those years ago, and we can use that channel to attract people who have an interest in the subject, rather than knocking on a door and saying, "Hey, do you want to buy a Bible?"
Yeah, that's right. No, that's sounds like you're on the pathway to systemizing the process, but a bit random still at the moment. Any other reflections or comments?
I'll make another quick comment here, Greg.
Sure.
If I may, and that is that I've noticed that outside of business, if you look at I hate to use the word social media influencers or the phrase, but these people are really good at this. They position themselves as authorities in a certain area, ranging from motorcycles to makeup.
Yep.
And if you look at their following, they're massive. So these people do it well. And I look at a guy who could be my grandson. He's got a beard and tattoos, earrings and pointy shoes, and he's doing it far better than I am. No question about it.
Yeah. That really doesn't take much in terms of how to become an authority, and and it's like we don't have to be an authority to everyone. It's only a certain specific group that are our ideal clients that we need to be the authority to. So that means that it's not that hard to become an authority if you do it the right way. Any other reflections, comments?
Greg, I think it's letting go of that idea that any client is a good client, and once you can step away from that, and I think some people do hold on to that a little bit, then you can, really start looking at attracting the right clients for you.
Yeah, no, that's a great point, Sue. And
Completely agree.
Yeah, and it's often that fear of limiting ourselves. If we make a choice to limit our opportunities, the fear is, what if I could have got a sale with those people or those people? It's often that fear of limiting ourselves and restricting our opportunities that prevents that from happening. But what I've seen is that when you do specialize and when you are focused on a specific target market, you're able to communicate with those people much more effectively and much more intimately, so that they actually get your message, they understand you, and they know that you understand them, even more importantly. And I think that's where the guys with the beards and earrings and the pointy shoes, Jeremy, know who they're trying to target, and there's an affinity with the people that they want to communicate with. So thank you for your feedback there. So the next area is really, again, just moving on from what we've just talked about in that, ability to limit ourselves, or decision to limit ourselves, and doing that with business model design that really is a match for our ideal clients. So, if we know who our premium level clients are, we can look at building a business model to suit their specific needs so that we're differentiated from our competitors and become the only really viable option for them to choose to solve their problems. But what tends to happen is, we've learnt our profession, I guess, from past experiences, and a lot of professions, there's a way things are done. There's the model of working that's typical. So an accountant, for example, has a specific way of doing things. They're probably the most regulated profession. Maybe lawyers are very close to it. But lots of professions have very similar ways of doing things. So, if we're in that sort of mindset where we want to improve how things are done, and this diagram here is just to show, we can do things in a very inefficient way. If we're trying to water this field, just throwing a bucket of water around is probably not the most efficient way to do that. But we can put our minds to the task and improve tactically. We can find better ways to do things. We can become more efficient and more effective at what we do. But really, it's only a slight improvement on an ineffective process. And again, if we change our mindset and look at thinking strategically and looking at how we can disrupt the market, how we can be our ideal clients' only viable option, then there's opportunity for massive improvement and massive impact in the way we do things. So really revising our approach to suit our ideal clients' specific needs and being the most viable option for them to choose, and really the only option if we get to that position of being the authority in the market, and having a business model that's really designed to move out of that red ocean space of competitiveness into a blue ocean where we're creating our own playing field. Then we've got open fields to work in that really present huge opportunities for us. So for me, the most profitable business model for consultants is when they create what I call a focused specialization that bridges the gap between their premium client's biggest problem and their most desired ultimate outcome. So again, I'll open the floor for input around the business model, how you work with your clients. How much thought have you put into doing things differently than your competitors? Do you have a focused specialization, a specific way you work with your clients that is different from how your competitors might work with them? Any comments or thoughts, learnings as from what we've just been through?
I'm still developing and also going through rebranding and restructuring, but I think it really resonates with me, the red ocean of competitiveness rather than and switching over to the blue, because in the networking game, I'm up against a lot of other networking groups on offer, different models that they offer as well. And my story or marketing is one area I have got to improve in from the perspective of really getting that out, that I'm a networking concierge. Yes, there are networking events. Yes, there are Zooms, and that I'm the person that looks after you at those events, seat you in the right seat for lunches, to meet the right people, and also bring opportunities to you. So that would be my, I think, focus specialisation to differentiate other groups that are out there.
Yeah. One thing I think, and thanks for that, Margaret, appreciate your input there. But what I see is a lot of us, working, particularly, I think we're all in the B2B space or pretty close to. What I see is that there are often opportunities that we miss where clients have needs that we could probably support them with, but because we look at our business model and, the traditional business model perhaps doesn't cater for all those things.
Yeah.
And again, we can try to improve on that and, look at the tactical ways we can do it better. But coming from a strategic level where we're really looking at, what does our client really, really want? That if I can refer back to that old Spice Girls song. But going beyond that surface level of, what do we do? What's our business model like? But, looking at what does our client really, really want, and how can we design our business model to support them with that? And often, coming from that perspective, changes the way we think and enables us to add value that we wouldn't have otherwise thought of because, we're really coming from the wrong direction. So, I encourage you, Margaret, to think of it from the client's perspective. Your clients, what do they really, really want? And what extra things can you add into your business model that really support them around that?
Absolutely.
Anyone else like to contribute their thoughts?
I think sometimes our clients don't actually know what they really, really want. And that's part of our role, is to help them identify that. And in doing so, we can show them we're probably exactly the right person to be working with.
Yeah. No,
so it depends on who they are and what they really want. So, for instance, Adam's a coach and I'm a coach, but we're clearly very different in what we do and what we offer and who we work with. So it's I think it's being able to help our clients identify what they really, really want.
Yeah.
And often I find with mine, it's quite different to where they started.
Yeah.
What they thought.
Yeah, no, it's a great point again, Sue. And definitely my experience is often, my clients that haven't really known what they really want. And it's, our job to elevate their thoughts and their thinking to another level, where they can see beyond the limitations that they put on themselves.
And it's something you mentioned, Susan, about fear. You're both coaches, but yet you'll have different styles. You are focused on the women or the female audience. And so you're not coming from a place of competitiveness because you're all offering something different.
Exactly. And I think it's recognizing that too and trying to get the best possible results for clients. I'm actually having lunch with another coach today who works in a completely different area. So, we're able to support each other's clients, which is wonderful. So it's, again, that's just identifying that need in there.
That's right. Adam, you've been a bit quiet. I'd love to hear from you.
Yes. I guess there is that. When you look at coaching, it's an abundant market, isn't it? Where everyone benefits from having a coach, ourselves included. So, so it's not like you have to worry about competition so much. Business buyers like competition, where they can help, that helps them navigate specification and what's to be delivered and what the price is, and it often dilutes or it boils down to an hourly rate or something like that. So and that's where that's obviously not a premium model.
No,
but I guess there's that I think there's that there's obviously a value creation involved. I was just one. Sorry, frog alert. No butterflies though. So there's a value model there, but it's like understanding or being really clear, I think, in some ways before you sit down in front of someone around where our expertise is and what matching expertise with need.
Yeah.
And And like you were, and you know, there is that. The thing is, you don't know till you go and have a look and have a try. And I guess having access for those of us who have that narrow focus, having a network can be pretty handy, because quite often you need to hand off clients to others. So,
that's
but
right.
it can be a pain in the bum. But especially if you're trying to, you're trying to build a list and things like that. But it's often necessary, rather than trying to get tempted into going, oh yeah, I could do that, or I could have a crack at that.
That's right. Yeah. And I think, you've raised a number of good points there. And typically I see consultants, coaches, caught in this trap of thinking, well, I can do this, I could do that. So defining our business model, as I said to Margaret, thinking about what else our clients need, doesn't mean that we try to do everything, but it really is about actually narrowing to a specific set of real solutions that our clients are looking for that no one else is providing. And I see a lot of professionals being commoditized. Accountants are probably the most commoditized profession now, but if we've got competitors that do similar things to what we do, and our potential clients can compare us against each other, and then that pricing equation comes in. If we're just the same and offering the same services as our competitors, then they're going to look at who's the lowest price and we'll choose them. I've got a favorite saying that, as a service provider, we need to be the savior, not the servant. When we're in that servant role, the client is the master and they rule the terms. They dictate to us what they want us to do and will pay us accordingly. And servants are low-paid people. But as the savior, the equation's turned around totally, where they see us as the, having the answers for them. They want our support. They want our advice. They're willing to put their life in our hands more often than not. And, because of that, they're often willing to pay premium prices to get the solutions that only we can offer. So, having that level of differentiation and that focused specialization gives us that power. Jeremy, did you have any comment there?
No, it's great to hear the comments, and I like the way you've put it up. And it's caused me to step back from our approach and rethink it, because the way that we look at the business, in fact, only about 10% of chief executives get it. Right. And that, when I first started looking at this, I thought, oh, crikey, why don't we just focus on the decision influences, and we could get in much more. Well, they just don't understand it. So so this has had a massive effect on my thinking just this last 10 minutes.
Excellent.
Yeah, so thank you for that, and the rest of the group. I really appreciate that.
No,
I apologize for the call. It was my wife. It just landed in LA, having been diverted somewhere.
All right, that's okay. Okay, thanks for your comments. And I think all that adds value to this sort of presentation when we can talk about real situations that you're experiencing. So let's look at that final strategy that is about building a high performance team. And often, what I hear from the business operator is you just can't find good people these days. But the business orchestrators are telling me our people are our greatest asset. And I think that comes again to that reactive indecisiveness of the typical business operator, where the focus is on getting the work done. So we need to recruit people to help us get our work done, help us get the income to pay the bills. Whereas the business orchestrator is focused on building a team of people who will one day lead the business. So that change of mindset, again, is what's so important here. Different focus, different perspective on, what are they doing in the business? We're not just, building a team of people to produce income and get the work done. We want to recruit people and nurture people, lead people so that one day, some of them will step up and be the leaders of our business. So, we tend to find 4 different types of people in most businesses. Some of them are misfits. And I think this comes about because of the different levels of motivation that people have on their own, and also their alignment with the business purpose, with the vision and mission from the business. So, misfits are people who have a low level of self-motivation, but they also have no alignment with the purpose of the business. So, they just don't fit. So we need to be careful not to recruit those ideally, but if we do find them in our business, then look for a way to move them on. There's a second group of people that are high performers. They're highly self-motivated. They can be top performers in their business, but they, at the same time, have no real alignment with the business purpose. They're just really doing their own thing. So, these conscripts are in it for the money. They are just there because it's a role they can perform in, but they're not really supportive of the business. They're just doing it for themselves. And that can tend to be disruptive, although it's hard for a business owner to look at those people and think, well, really they're not good for the business because the results, look amazing. But it's this decision, again, that often is the business operator mindset around the short term versus the long term. And when we see short term wins, we'll often be enticed by that and think, well, this is good. But we don't look at the long term ramifications and what some of the actions of these people are doing to undermine the long term health of the business. So again, we want to either help those people align with our purpose or move them out. Then we have a group of people that I call compliant, that are perhaps not highly motivated. They're not typically self-starters, but they're just willing to do their job. They have an alignment with the purpose of the business, and they'll turn up day after day, willing to do their job and just do those functions that need to be done in the business that are supportive of the business long term. These are great people to have. If we can improve their motivation, they might turn into leaders, but that's not really necessary because they're fulfilling their role in our business. But it's this area of high motivation and high alignment with purpose where I call these people volunteers, because they're like people who work in a charity. They're so aligned with the purpose that they turn up and do the work for free. The bonus for them in business sense is they can get paid to do it as well. But these are the people who will step up and become the leaders, and we need to be nurturing and focusing on helping these people develop in their roles and their skills and abilities so they can take over running the business from us down the track. Okay, so maybe this is not such a focus for you at the moment, but any comments or feedback on this last area of building a high-performing team?
Can I jump in again? Sorry. It's just, I just was thinking while you were speaking, Greg, people need to be engaged in the why, and we've heard this from many people, but it's getting to that point. And so it's the why of the business, and they need to be engaged in the outcome.
That's true.
So they feel that they're part of the outcome and they're part of the solution, and it's being accountable for how I'm showing up today.
Yeah.
And I've just been through this with the team, and they were a bit surprised.
Yeah.
When I asked them that question. So, it's a few things in there. So it's about accountability, and you just say the volunteers feel that they don't need that so much. They're already engaged in the why.
Yeah.
And in the outcome.
Yeah. Yeah. Volunteers are easy to lead. They're engaged. They're willing. They're the ones who step up and do things beyond expectations. So it's for us as owners, managers, to be really supporting those people, really, they're the focus. But often we get distracted by the other sorts of people, and we tend to work with them to try and improve their performance. Whereas, one of my, to quote Jim Rohn, one of my favourite mentors, you can't take your ducks to eagle school. So we need to be focused on the eagles who, can fly high, and be supporting them. And, doing that with structure and systems, and having the right management processes in place, so that they're the ones who are getting our attention and being elevated in our organisation. So just to finish off then, I'll come back to this flight path to saleability, and just look at again the important parts of changing our business from that business operator role where we're creating a business that's dependent on us, to flipping our mindset to become the business orchestrator, where we're deliberately, proactively, strategically building a business that works for us, so that it becomes scalable and saleable. Now, at Business Flight Path, we have a program that takes you strategically and systematically through the steps that are involved in building a business effectively, and specifically around creating strategic authority, having a strategic attraction marketing system in place. Then once that foundation is built, where you've got the ability to attract your premium clients consistently and predictably, you then have the ability to scale your business. And at that point, working on that scalable autonomy, building the culture, the structure, the systems into your business, so that ultimately you can have that saleable ascendancy, where you're able to realize the value of your business and have it in that market dominant position. So if anyone would like to continue our conversation and look at how I can support you through that process, then I welcome you to join me in a 1-hour strategy session, where we can discuss your specific situation in more detail and look at the challenges that you're facing. It's not a high pressure sales call by any means. Definitely we can talk about how I can support you at the end of that, but initially the call is specifically about how can you improve on what you're doing in your business, and if I can give you some ideas and thoughts to do that, I'm happy to do that. And if you see some value in working together beyond that, then we can talk about how that might happen as well. So Sarah, I think you're going to put a link in the chat for
Already done.
So if anyone wants to schedule a call with me to have that chat, then very happy to talk with you and see how I can support you. So I'll stop the share there, and thank you for your attendance, and just open up the floor for any final questions or comments you might have. All good. Any?
Really valuable information, Greg. Thank you. And I've done some work with you, as you know, and
yes.
I can't speak highly enough of your program. And having had an association through my work with other business coaches, I really see the difference in what you're doing, and it's such a step above what other people are doing, and it's so much more advanced. So thank you for this session. It was a great refresher, and thank you to everybody for participating.
Yeah, no, thank you, Sue. It was good to see you again, and yeah, catch up soon.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Greg. Much appreciated.
Yeah, thanks, Adam. Great.
Thank you, Greg.
Thanks, Margaret. Good to see you.
You too, and lots of valuable information there.
Excellent.
Thank you so much. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Chat. I'd love to catch up.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you. Bye.
All right, then. Thanks, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.